This is the Nintendo Switch 2. I've had it for 100 days now, and by the end of this video, you're gonna know all of the positives and negatives to owning one, as well as whether or not you should get one, or if you're just looking for some entertainment. So this is Nintendo's first sequel system, and I don't mean going from the NES to the SNES, or the Wii to the Wii U, or the DS to the 3DS, none of that. They've created successors, but they typically come with some sort of gimmick. And even if they don't, such as from the Game Boy to the Game Boy Advance, the Advance is vastly different from the original. However, the Switch 2, in my opinion, is a true sequel. First, it has 2 in the name. It's not the new Switch, or the Switch Advanced, or the Switch Pro, or the Switch U. It's literally just the Switch 2. The design is almost identical, it functions the same as a Switch 1. Nintendo took what PlayStation has been doing for years and finally did it themselves. It's not innovative, but it is evolutionary. Holding the first Switch in your adult hands, you'll notice it's small. These controllers don't feel like those of a home system. The build quality of this thing is also weak, and while other models did improve it, it still felt lacking compared to the competition. So all of this was improved with the Switch 2. It's bigger, the build quality is leagues better, I can actually use these Joy-Con comfortably, and it feels like a home system now. The Switch 1 felt like a portable device that you could plug into your TV. The Switch 2 feels like a home console that you can take with you on the go. So, those are a few examples of where this system's evolutionary nature comes to its benefit. However, it's in other areas where Nintendo's efforts fall short. These menus are boring, and 3 months into this thing's life and there are still no themes. Just because this thing is a Switch doesn't mean the menu has to be 95% identical to the original Switch, and it detracts from the new console experience. Yeah, the menu isn't bad, it's actually a pretty good one all things considered, but it doesn't mean I like it all too much. Additionally, while the Joy-Con are a significant improvement, I still have some concerns with them, specifically with issues that carried over from the Switch 1. I don't like the clicky buttons, I don't like the lack of a D-pad, and the joysticks could still be prone to drifting issues. That's not to say they're bad though, everything about them is larger, they attach to the system in a much more elaborate way than the original Switch, they have more features, and most importantly, they're comfortable. There's also the Pro Controller, a traditionally styled controller that, much like the Switch 2, isn't innovative, but it is evolutionary. The D-pad feels better and actually works, the buttons are slightly bigger, the joysticks feel heavenly, and they added customizable back buttons. This thing is super close to being my favorite controller of all time. It's a tie between it and the DualSense Edge. I might make a video on the Switch 2 Pro Controller, DualSense Edge, and Microsoft Elite controller, so get subscribed if you want to see it. When the Switch 2 was being released, Nintendo focused heavily on its specs, which is something they hadn't really done since the GameCube era. The Wii, Wii U, and Switch never had their specs highlighted for 2 big reasons. First of all, Nintendo focused more on creating fun games for this system, but also because they were all significantly behind in terms of power. And by 2025, the Switch was really showing its age. Nintendo knew this because everything inside of the Switch 2 has been heavily upgraded. It's got a 7.9-inch LCD screen with HDR and VRR, support for 1080p output, 120 FPS, a custom processor made by Nvidia, 256GB of internal storage, 4K support for the TV, a built-in microphone, a USB-C port on top of the tablet, 12GB of DDR5 RAM, and a 5220 mAh battery for 2 to 6 hours of playtime. It's a significant upgrade in most areas, except for the battery life. I haven't used it too much portably, but the times that I have, I've definitely felt the impact of the poor battery. It was stressful playing my games and feeling like I constantly had to check to see if it was close to dying or not. Speaking of games, there have been several exclusives already. Some of them are totally brand new, like Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, and Drag X Drive. while other games are simple upgrade packs to existing Switch 1 games like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I'll talk about the upgrade packs first. There are 3 different types of these: free upgrades, $10 performance upgrades, and $20 DLC. The free ones are typically simple upgrades to Switch 1 games that unlock the resolution and frame rate and maybe upgrade some textures here and there. Like Splatoon 3 ran pretty solid on the Switch 1, but it struggled in a few areas and was capped at 30 FPS in other areas. On the Switch 2, it runs flawlessly at 4K 60 FPS. They also changed the loading screen slightly for the Switch 2 for some reason. The $10 upgrade packs not only unlock the frame rate and resolution, but they also upgrade textures and add a few new features. I got the physical editions of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and they look absolutely stunning on the Switch 2. I never finished Tears of the Kingdom on the original Switch, and I'm kinda glad I didn't. It was not only beautiful to play and beat on this machine, but it also was reminiscent of playing Breath of the Wild at the launch of the Switch all the way back in 2017. I can't stress enough how gorgeous these games are, and the simple things they added make the upgrade packs worth it. Lastly, there's the $20 upgrade packs. These do everything that the $10 packs do, but also add in some DLC. For Mario Party Jamboree, it was an entirely new mode called Jamboree TV, and for Kirby and the Forgotten Land, it was a new campaign called Star-Crossed World. I personally think that these are all worth the money, and great for people who haven't played these games before. It also gives me an excuse to buy my 3rd copy of Breath of the Wild. And so far, Nintendo hasn't been treating them like full-fledged releases, which I think is a great thing. They still have major titles filling up the year, like Pokemon Legends Arceus, Metroid Prime 4, and Kirby Air Riders. But these Switch 2 editions are filling in the gaps between games, which I think is nice. If they treated them like major releases, like let's say releasing Mario Kart World, then we wait a few months for Mario Party Jamboree, then we wait a few more months for Donkey Kong, then there would be an issue. But let's move on to the Switch 2 exclusive games. Nintendo absolutely cooked with their major titles, but the 2 smaller ones, being Welcome Tour and Drag X Drive, are mixed. I personally really like the Welcome Tour and played it for about an hour when the Switch 2 was first released. However, I think most people can agree that this should have been a pack-in with the system. More people would have played it and continued playing it for the entirety of the system's life, but apart from the few die-hard fans at launch, I don't see anyone buying this game anymore. Drag X Drive, meanwhile, is pretty lame. I like the concept, and the controls can be fun when you're doing anything but basketball, but the main focus of the game is basketball, and I just don't think it's that good. It's also a painfully simple game, and I understand it's $20, but you can get better experiences for less money. I mean, hell, Silk Song just came out for $20. The real stars of the show are Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza. These are both excellent games, and making World the launch title and immediately following it up with Bonanza was such a great move, because 8 Deluxe is one of the best-selling games of all time, and the 3D Mario team made DK Bonanza. They're both excellent games, but I do think DK is the better of the two. It's fully fleshed out, and I can tell the love and care that was put into it. Mario Kart World, however, has too many small nitpicks that add up to really get on my nerves. There's no way to opt out of intermission tracks online, there's no way to track anything you've collected in the open world, there's no way to look at missions in the open world, they aren't giving the game free updates that add costumes, characters, carts, and tracks, which I feel like it could use because unlike the other games they give free updates to, this game feels complete at launch. It would have been nice to have a 12-player mode for online too, because I love having 24 players, but it's extremely chaotic, and you have a 4.17% chance of winning. Again, I love the game, but I just wish they'd give it more attention. I also recognize that I'm almost 21 years old at this point. I was 12 when I got my Switch at launch, and Mario Kart was one of the first online games I played a ton of apart from Splatoon on the Wii U. Now that I'm older, I still play games like Splatoon 3 and Mario Kart World, but I mainly play Marvel Rivals and Fortnite for my online games. And I can tell you a big part of that is because they're still being updated. Back when Splatoon 3 was still being updated, I played it for a really long time. And they did recently give it a pretty big update when the Switch 2 released. But that wasn't enough to pull me back in for months on end. I played it for about a week or two and then moved back on. Also, this was my game collection when I was 12, and this is it currently. It's a lot harder to dedicate all my time to a single game now. Like I said though, Bonanza is fully polished and I really think that it deserves Game of the Year. I had an absolute blast playing it, and I'm even considering 100%ing it. And I am extremely hyped about the upcoming games. Pokemon Legends Z through A is the first Pokemon game I've been excited about since Ultra Sun and Pokemon Legends Arceus. Metroid Prime 4 is finally getting released and looks gorgeous and fun. Kirby Air Riders looks straight out of the GameCube era. Hyrule Warriors is hopefully an actual prequel game, and Splatoon Raiders is the first spin-off in the Splatoon series. It all looks fantastic and is exactly what I'm looking for as a Nintendo fan, if you couldn't tell. Even the non-Nintendo games on here look and run great. And I, for one, am super excited to start collecting games for this thing. Not only do I get my Nintendo exclusives, but I also get games like Cyberpunk, Final Fantasy VII, and Elden Ring that look and run solid for a portable system. However, you guys know where this is going. There is a huge issue with developers using keycards, which turns me away from buying a lot of these games. I wanted to buy Persona 3, Sparking Zero, and Pac-Man World 2 on here, but I'm not sure if I will now because they're not truly physical. And with games like Final Fantasy VII and Elden Ring, they haven't been announced as keycards or not. Every time a third-party game is announced for this thing, there's always that looming anxiety that it might be a keycard, which really sucks. At launch, I did pick up Street Fighter and Split Fiction because of the hype of a new system. Since then, my fiance bought Hogwarts Legacy, but those are the only keycards I have right now. I'd say that's the biggest issue with this system right now, and I think that most people would agree. Like, before and after the system was released, we had losers whining about the prices of the system in games, but that was all a loud minority online. The Switch 2 became the fastest selling system of all time and is still selling extremely quick. Which, can I just say that really sucked? The launch of a system is supposed to be exciting, but we had chronically online losers bullying people for liking anything Nintendo related. And without fail, I will get a nasty comment on any short or video that's relating to Nintendo. It's frustrating, but like I said, they are a loud minority. The reason that I bring this up though is because the keycard issue isn't the same at all. Not only am I seeing people complain about it, but the numbers are supporting it. The top 10 best-selling Switch 2 games on Amazon are all full games on the cart, which I think is great. Keycards deter collectors and the average consumer, and it's within Nintendo's and third parties' best interest to stop using them. I've actually only seen one developer state why they went with game keycards, and that was the people behind Star Wars Outlaws. Which, reading up on this, yeah, I think it makes sense and they went with the right decision here. But when games like Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 are on a game keycard, yeah, that's just lazy and money hungry right there. But let's move on. One of my favorite things about this system is how everything carries over from your Nintendo account, including game saves, playtime, your profile, and Switch Online. All the games I was able to play on Nintendo Classics on the original Switch are back, as well as GameCube games that are exclusives to the Switch 2. I love Nintendo Online. They've improved the service infinitely since its terrible launch, and these controllers are seriously awesome to have. The Switch Online app and eShop run great now. The system has a startup sound, which was a great addition. This thing is a great system, and is almost exactly what I wanted out of Nintendo's next system. Honestly, if you're on the fence about wanting one of these things and can't justify spending $450 on top of all the games that you need to buy, I would recommend this for the quality upgrade alone. You could buy a Switch 2, upload your Switch 1 data to your Switch 2, and then sell your Switch 1. This is a fantastic system. Not only is Nintendo going to continue to create great games for this thing, but it runs the entirety of the Switch 1 library better than the Switch 1 ever could hope to. And new and old games are being ported to this thing that look and run incredible for a handheld. But what do you think?